Hello and welcome to another Europa Universalis 5 Dev Diary Tinto Talk. Yes, I am not wearing a t-shirt. That is because it's incredibly hot right now, and I think I got sunstroke earlier today. So yeah, we're going topless. It's fine. You don't see nip. YouTube won't mind. It's okay. Anyway, we're talking about the Chinese IO, right? The Middle Kingdom, and hopefully we're gonna get a good bit of information here. So let us just jump right into it. The Middle Kingdom is represented in-game with an international organization with the Celestial Emperor, or Huangdi. I'm going to pronounce all these things horribly correctly, actually, all the time, so don't worry about it. So, Middle Kingdom here, we have policies, delegated civil registration, the rice-based tax, the established provincial governors, the free Sefeng TG, I think, direct appointment, allow trade, and restrict the Tianjia. You also get plus 50 culture capacity, which is a huge amount. This is actually massive. For context, as when I played as Florence, when I made my video, I had a culture capacity of like 2. And the leader just gets a flat 50. You also get 50% diplomatic capacity, great power score, and you also are allowed to have tributary subjects. If you are just a member, you cannot be an empire, and you get some progress towards being sinicized. And you can also invite new members if you so desire. Very cool. Antagonism caused by actions on international organization territory will be scaled by plus 50% as well. So a little bit more antagonism there. So we have the Middle Kingdom. It is currently led by Togon Temur Huangdi, and there are 170 members of the international organization. As you can see, most of those are made up of all of these slightly tribal tags that are subjugated beneath the Great Yuan. The IO itself has territory assigned to it, what it considers to be its core territory, so a little bit like the Holy Roman Empire in that regard. In the map mode, that's represented by solid colours when owned by a country inside the IO, and purple stripes when not currently owned by a member of the IO. So, like the land here in Kocho, I think is the only part that I can see that is considered territory, but is not currently owned. I don't see any more, but maybe I am blind. That is always possible. Territory outside the IO, but owned by a member of it, is colored in stripes of different colors. Yellow for the Celestial Emperor, green for regular members, and bright green for the Celestial Governors. These colors are a work in progress and a matter of review. They're not final, so if you think better colors are suitable, then yeah, you're good there. So Celestial Governors are a thing. We're going to learn about them right now. But you can see the Celestial Governors here. Gorrieo is 1, and I don't see any others, though I believe you can have 4 Celestial Governors. What is a Celestial Governor? They are members of the Middle Kingdom, to which the Emperor has granted special privileges, giving them some nice bonuses. So they get proximity cost -5 is a great modifier, get some legitimacy, efficiency of the cabinet, also a great modifier, and then you also have some progress towards being sinicized. Countries can join the Middle Kingdom freely as long as they're not a subject, and either have their capital in Asia, which is a pretty big frickin' place, or have the appropriate cultural or religious groups. Subjects of the Celestial Emperor, however, will automatically join it. Once a country is inside the Middle Kingdom, they will still be allowed to pursue their own diplomacy and wage their own wars, as long as they're not a subject type that forbids that. But they will also benefit from protection of the Emperor, who may come to their assistance if they're attacked by an external threat. So, same as the Mandate of Heaven in EU4. It's not a guarantee. They can decline if they want to. Also, they'll be participating in the tribute system. Every month, the following transactions are made, and this is payment towards the tributes, right? This is the Great Yuan, or whoever happens to be the Celestial Emperor, giving money to these countries. It's not the opposite way around like it is in EU4. Middle Kingdom has been considered a cultural center of the world. As such, neighboring countries send their delegations in order to offer tribute and submit to the authority of the Huangdi, and in return they receive gifts that exceed the tribute in value. as well as recognition and legitimization of their status as rulers. Historically, the tribute system of China was manifested through tribute missions between various countries and the ruling dynasty, conducted at various frequencies. Countries would offer gifts to the emperor for the Son of Heaven to recognize their rule, and they would get gifts of greater value in return. In the game, this back and forth is simplified and abstracted to a payment that the emperor has to perform, and the resulting money is divided among all members according to their economic power. The emperor gets a slider in the economic panel to determine how much they are willing to pay at the risk of losing celestial authority if the resulting tribute is too low. I feel like what we're going to have with this system is a little bit like the system you have for minting and inflation, where we're going to get it to a point where we don't lose celestial authority, but we're not gaining it either, unless we're not, at 100% yet, and then you rank it up. But as soon as you're at that maximum, yeah, you can dial that down. Celestial authority does not have any passive effect, but there is so much content tied to it, with some risks involved if it's left to fall too low. Additionally, many actions require the use of celestial authority. So we have the ability to revoke laws, conduct kaiju examinations, reshaping the bureaucracy, strengthening the ministry, and proclaiming various decrees. So, we'll start off with the laws. They determine or define how the Middle Kingdom operates and also affect what actions will be available. So for administrative laws, we have provincial governorship and the Chanja, whether you can restrict it or not exactly as well. The provincial governor will give you less monthly rebel growth, give you more legitimacy if you are the celestial governor. Loyalty to the overlord as well. If you're not the celestial governor, so if you're a member, you'll have still loyalty to the overlord and a little bit less monthly legitimacy as well. Very nice. The Keiju examination lets you hire advisors slightly cheaper. That's quite nice. Monthly prestige goes up as well. If you are the celestial governor, you get more stability investment. If you're not, then you get slightly less, but it's still a good modifier to have. If you have outwards view, it lets you allow some trade to go on. You get some trade efficiency, proximity cost through maritime, amazing modifier as well. If you're the ruler, you get 10 trade capacity, and if you're not, then you get 5% trade capacity. Very nice. Codified Sifeng Tiji, nailed that pronunciation, I'm certain of it. You get loyalty of the subjects. You may convert to celestial governors, so being able to add more than just Gorieo as a celestial governor. If you are a celestial governor, you get some legitimacy, and you pay more to the overlord, which is strange because we don't. If you're a member and not the top level, you don't pay to the overlord. You get paid, but I guess Gorieo can have subjects of its own that will pay. Or it could be a secondary subject of someone else. The payment going on there. I don't know. It's kind of strange on that one. If you're not the leader of the Middle Kingdom, then less payment to Overlord and less legitimacy. Anyway, for example, conducting a Keiju examination will only be possible as long as the direct appointment policy is not active, while the appointment of new celestial governors can only be made if the codified Sifeng Tiji policy is active. Let's look at the actions in more detail. For starters, as it was already mentioned, conducting a Keiju examination will allow the recruitment of a new capable character, with some historical characters being able to be appearing from it. We have here Liu Bowen, which I assume is a historical character that I simply do not know of, and some text here talking about him. This is, of course, always the historical flavor text. We will watch your career with great interest. Where have I heard that one before? He's a prominent figure during the late Yuan and early Ming dynasties, rose from humble beginnings to become renowned for his exceptional intellect, strategic prowess, and political foresight. Played a crucial role in overthrowing the Mongol-led Yuan dynasty and establishing the Ming dynasty, contributing significantly to military campaigns that led to the Ming's rise to power. Beyond his military achievements, Liu was also renowned for his literary and scholarly contributions to Chinese literature and philosophy, leaving a lasting legacy as a multifaceted figure in Chinese history. Very cool. Strengthening the ministry will allow the country to strengthen one of the 6 traditional ministries of Chinese administration, with varying effects. Some ministries will also be available to affect the outcomes of other actions. So you get better candidates in the examination action. Costs some money and some stability to do, but you get +1 cabinet seats and efficiency of cabinet. This is just amazing. This is so good. Absolutely worth doing. Absolutely worth doing. Ministry of Justice. You can get better results when you proclaim a decree or of issue great warrants. Probably this should be an or. And the strength of Ministry of Justice gives a monthly rebel growth -5. Pops join rebel threshold -5. This is basically their satisfaction. If it goes low enough, they'll join a rebel threshold. So if you have -5%, they need to go a further 5% into dissatisfaction to join. So yeah, it's good. But if I recall correctly from reading the comments after this dev diary, you can only have one of these available, one of these active at any one time. And I'm sorry, but it's a cabinet seat. It's a cabinet seat. You know, the Ministry of Justice, just get out of here. Ministry of Personnel, absolutely the best one there. Lastly, proclaim decree action will allow the Emperor to choose a decree to enable for some temporary benefits, but also cost some celestial authority. The effects of the decrees last only for a short while, but are scaled by the amount of countries in the Middle Kingdom, the Emperor's own cabinet efficiency, and other factors such as certain ministries having been expanded. So, the various decrees that you can do here, and this sort of looks like the Parliament kind of menu. I don't know if it's using the same, area of the UI as the Parliament, but a lot of various UI elements are like sharing the architecture, let's say. But anyway, we have commencing infrastructure works, lets you build roads for way cheaper and much faster as well. Very nice. Population census, giving monthly control and tax efficiency. I wonder if this is going to be the new population census for regular parliaments as well, because we do know we've heard from Yuan and the and this is Yuan Anderson, not Yuan the country, that they were thinking that the pop growth from population census in the parliament was a bit too strong, and so they were looking at nerfing it. If this is what they're nerfing it to, that would be a pretty decent nerf, I think, because these are still very desirable effects, and I'm still looking to probably do population censuses if this is what we get for it. I would obviously prefer pop growth, but this is still very good, so you know what? If this is what it's changed to, then great. If this is just, just the proclaimed decrees for the Middle Kingdom, and that's nothing to do with parliaments, then okay, fair enough as well. Anyway, we also have expand palace bureaucracy for a huge bonus to the efficiency of the cabinet, increasing tariff control for a boost to your trade efficiency, issue great warnings for revoking privilege cost and estate satisfaction equilibrium. Again, essentially this is going to be a case of I'm going to do this and I'm going to sort out my privileges. That's that you probably don't want to do this, do that without this being active. And then also reinforce the fortifications for fort building cost. Very nice. Additionally, the more decrees are proclaimed, the less celestial authority that the Middle Kingdom will gain each month, representing the increasing complications of bureaucracy. However, the Emperor can choose to reshape the bureaucracy, eliminating the accumulated penalty on celestial authority gained due to decrees. That's kind of cool. So it's like, you can have multiple of these turned on at the same time, but then the amount of celestial authority you gain every month is worse. But say I rush through and I accept all of these and my celestial authority is like struggling, but then I click this button, spend a one-time payment of stability and cash and a little bit of celestial authority, and then the decrees passed no longer burden the monthly celestial authority. That's really cool. That's really, really cool. Another thing you may have noticed in the Middle Kingdom panel is something called Eunuch power. At some point, China will have the option to empower the eunuchs. Doing so will open the gates to some events and effects related to them that will be for you to discover, as the Tinto talk is already getting long enough. And he has another topic to discuss, a unique societal value, sinicized versus unsinicized. We'll look at China from the outside and see what happens when a foreign country interacts with it. If a country not belonging to the Chinese culture group enters the orbit of China, that's very nebulous and could mean many different things. It will unlock the sinicized versus unsinicized societal value. Right now, current impact is 70 towards sinicized, and that is giving minus 35% cultural tradition. Okay. You get some trade capacity, monthly research progress, admin efficiency, and Middle Kingdom tribute received modifier plus 75%. And then in this case, whoever we're playing while looking at this, you're gaining plus 32 per month. And it won't push further than 32, even though we're at 70. It won't grow anymore. Sinicized country falls under the influence of the Middle Kingdom as an extension of its jurisdiction, whereas an unsinicized country stands as a proud sovereign of their politics and domain. So when sinicized is dominant, it scales up to the maximum of minus 50 cultural tradition, bunch of trade capacity, research progress, etc., etc. When unsinicized is dominant, it scales up to higher cultural tradition, trade capacity goes down, prestige decay is better, and stability investment cost minus 33 is actually quite huge. And there is a comment that we're going to go into, basically looking at these two images and seeing, is this the correct way to represent sinicized and unsinicized? There's a comment that goes into that. We'll get there in a moment. But we'll read the rest of the Dev Diary first. Like other societal values, a country has many tools with which to nudge it towards one extreme or the other. However, what matters to us today is what happens when they reach high levels of sinicization. That's a word. Sinicization. Sinicization. Whatever. Any free country that goes beyond 90 towards sinicization and is less powerful than China may fall under the influence of China disaster. So we're playing as the Kingdom of Goryeo here. Disaster gives us less state satisfaction, legitimacy goes down, rebels grow a bit faster. Okay, fair enough. Our time under the influence of Yuan has brought forth many boons for our people. However, this relationship has eroded our social fabric, disconnecting us from our traditions and threatening our independence. We have the balance of power here. What started as an innocuous relationship between our people and the Great Yuan has now grown to threaten our independence. Their growing power threatens to overshadow our own political grip. The measure of foreign meddling in our affairs must be curbed, lest we become just another subject to the Great Dragon. That's kind of cool. There will be many possible events found during it, in which the country will navigate between continuing to be influenced by Chinese culture or establishing its own cultural independence. Never before have representatives of the Great Yuan brought forth such emboldened requests for tribute. Disregarding our prior arrangements, they have burst forth into our court with egregious requests to further finance the immoral conduct of the Yuan court. This is certainly the latest gaffe in a series of failed diplomatic communications and a sign that they simply do not respect us. Also, we have the two, pieces of art as well, the sinicization versus unsinicization. So you can toss them out the window, defenestrate them, if you so desire. Societal values go towards unsinicized, gain some legitimacy, and a really tiny amount of opinion change. It's crazy. And if you trust Yuan, you embrace sinicization until the disaster ends. Okay. To get out of the disaster, the country has various options. For once, will get out of it if they're no longer sinicized. There is not a China to which to compare them to, or they are already stronger than it. Alternatively, they can resolve the disaster by taking enough decisions towards the same direction in the events found during it. While when the disaster ends, a final event will fire with options and results dependent on which exactly has been the way to exit the disaster. Alas, the gifts and communications between us and Great Yuan has been naught but their way of infiltrating our common affairs, etching their monetary assistance and support into our societal frameworks. It appears we have been fooled, and we now bow down to our new overlords, and we become a footnote in their great history. Lots of options, we'll have to play through it ourselves. So, on Friday there's a tint of flavor about China, very nice. Again, China is one of the Tier 1 nations in EU5, so I'm expecting this to be a fat Dev Diary. And next week, the Chinese flavor continues, because there will be the Red Turban Rebellion situation and the crisis of the Chinese dynasty disaster. So that is going to be very interesting. But we have some comments to look through, like I have just said. So let us get into some of them, starting with, not that one, with this one. All I need is a capital in Asia. So in theory, I can start as the Jalairids and join the Middle Kingdom. So you still need to have the diplomatic range of the current emperor to join the Middle Kingdom IO. So the Jalairids are too far away at the start. However, there are ways to increase your diplomatic range. So maybe Jalairids could in fact join the Middle Kingdom. Seems reasonable. Seems reasonable to assume that. Does the Emperor have a CB against countries holding international organization lands? Yes, they do. So, as we saw the map, and there was a bit of Middle Kingdom territory not held by anyone in the Middle Kingdom, you will have a CB to rectify that situation. Shouldn't the pop rebels join threshold be plus 5% if it's positive? Again, just getting this the wrong way around. It seems to me they will become rebels sooner, which is hardly positive. So the threshold is the satisfaction in which they will join and leave the rebels. So if they join at 20% satisfaction instead of 25%, it's good because it means there's more difficult for them to join. It's just basically the way that rebels work is like kind of flipped on its head from the way it is in EU4. Like rebels or unrest goes up in EU4 and higher number worse, whereas it's satisfaction in EU5, so lower number is worse. It just takes a little bit of time to wrap the head around that one, and then it's fine. Can you have multiple strengthened ministries active at the same time, or do you have to wait for a cooldown? There's a cooldown for the action, so you'll be able to have one active at the same time. That's not an answer to the question, in my opinion. Can I have multiple at the same time? Only have one available at the same time. Or do you have to wait for a cooldown? There's also a cooldown. What if I wait for a cooldown and then activate another one? Is that a thing? I don't know. It's kind of hard to understand, I think, in my opinion. Moving on, though. Celestial Governors. There is a maximum of 4 of them. What does the Emperor gain from Celestial Governors? More diplomats and Celestial Authority. Very nice. Are members of the IO considered considered subjects of the Emperor's tag? Otherwise, the loyalty modifiers in the established provincial governorship policy don't seem so good. No, but all subjects of the Emperor will automatically join the IO, as we read in the Dev Diary anyway. What does it mean to enter the orbit of China? Like I said, that was a little bit nebulous. Basically, it means joining the Middle Kingdom. Fair enough. What are the risks associated with having Celestial Authority become too low? We'll learn about that next week with the disaster that they were talking about. Can the IO gain lands? No, it cannot gain or lose land as it is land. As its land. So the Middle Kingdom is not really going to grow. There can just be countries that join it that are outside of that core territory. So it's somewhat unlike the HRE in that regard. Can you add and remove land to the IO like the HRE? No, like I just said. Can other empires, like Tier 4 ranks, join the IO? And if yes, will they downgrade to Kingdom Tier? There's nothing currently blocking them, but he's going to add that as a condition. It makes no sense for other empires to join the Middle Kingdom. Good, that makes sense. Details on how leadership of the IO is transferred. Is there a casus belli to take control? So yes, there is a casus belli to claim emperorship available to not only Chinese cultures, but also Mongolian, Jurchens, and also some related cultures like Korean or Vietnamese. If China and the Middle Kingdom themselves are destroyed, then there's an option of recreating it. That is very interesting, because that's something that was not possible in vanilla EU4. To the point where it was pointed out to me when I was playing Anbana recently, that it was something that Anbana had added, because they have a Mandate of Heaven-like system in Anbana, that when it's destroyed, you can recreate it. It's a decision to recreate the, I forget what exactly it's called, Stewardship of the Sorrow. And that was something that was like, oh, vanilla Anbana doesn't have this, but now EU5 is going to have it. So that's cool. That's cool. I like it. I don't think they took inspiration from Anbana, but you know what? Maybe they did. Who knows? How will the system for claiming and taking the Mandate of Heaven work? Will European countries, for example, be able to do this? They will need to be of the appropriate culture for it. Fair enough. Do you consider sinicized nations, no matter the original culture, being able to claim it? Not right now, but it may be a good idea to consider. So, if you, for example, are the Gelairids, as maybe just use that situation again, or use that example again, and you manage to get the diplomatic range up so you can join the Middle Kingdom, you get your sinicization up, what happens if you then become fully sinicized? Can I then claim it? Maybe we will be able to. Does the Emperor of China actually benefit in any way from being Emperor? They get many good modifiers as well as access to some very good actions and interactions, events, etc. Nice. And how about the decrees? Can I proclaim multiple in short order? There's a cooldown, but it's a short one, so you can keep proclaiming them. Very nice. And then here is the comment that is essentially sinicization versus not sinicized and sinicized. So this is the comment that I was referring to. Please use the correct Han people's clothing for sinicized illustrations, not Manchu Qing clothing. So here is some examples. And the answer from Roger here is, the Manchu were chosen precisely because they are the ones that during the game's time period start unsinicized, but then sinicize and end up even forming the Qing dynasty. That's why they are present on both sides of the illustration, in their unsinicized Jurchen version on one side and in their sinicized Qing version on the other. Which, you know what, that's fair enough. If the idea is these are the same people, but be a before and after sinicization, I feel like that's reasonable. But there's a further comment as well from the same guy. That's not the correct understanding. Manchu only adopted the Chinese system and culture, but did not sinicize in the appearance of clothing. The clothing on the left is still in the style of Siberia and the Mongolian plateau, not Chinese style. And then on the contrary, after Manchu conquered China, he made Chinese clothing become the Manchu style. It's unrealistic to say this is sinicized. It's just like saying the Arab clothing during the Arab rule of the Iberian Peninsula represented Spain. Roger replying here, we're aware of that, and also the fact that many things considered Chinese in the West are actually Manchu instead. However, we still thought it would be clearer if we used Manchu in both sides. If instead we used pure Han clothing on one side, the resulting image would seem like two different peoples instead of the same one transitioning from unsinicized to sinicized. This, I think, is the important part, and what puts me into the like category, if I don't have issues. There we go. This is what makes sense to me. Sinicization is not to represent the adoption of Chinese clothing, but instead the adoption of the Chinese system and culture. So Qing-style Manchu represent that in our opinion, as they did precisely that. That's reasonable. I feel like that's reasonable. And then a final comment. Religion is fair game to claim the mandate. Yes, Catholic Japan, in theory, can claim the mandate and become the Middle Kingdom. Cool. All right, but that's all I have for today. Reminder that on Friday there will be some flavor dev diary about China. I'm expecting good things from that. But I'm going to leave you with a question. And that is kind of an interesting one, in my opinion, because the Great Yuan it's pretty great. It's kind of huge. It's kind of massive. It's kind of something that will break the game. It is something that we've heard from the devs where they have, implemented systems and then they go and look at China and, oh, China breaks the system that we've made. It just doesn't work for that. Is the Great Yuan something that you are interested in playing? Are you interested in playing Great Yuan to play Great Yuan and avoid the disaster? Or are you interested in playing Great Yuan to maybe, have the disaster fall apart as Great Yuan and then rise to prominence as one of the breakaway states, maybe perhaps the Ming Dynasty? I'd love to know your thoughts on that, because for me, Great Yuan is not something I really have any interest in playing as a, keep Great Yuan together. But to maybe form one of the successor kingdoms, that seems like a bit of a better situation, a bit of a more interesting situation. So I'd like to know your thoughts on this. So let me know in the comment section below. But until then, thank you very much for watching. I hope the weather is not as horrible where you are as it is here. I'm going to go and have a cold shower and an ice cream, and I will see you in a couple of days. Bye-bye.